On the foreign scene, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urges NATO to up defense spending for Europe's sake. Good evening. This is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. I am Femi Ojo. We begin as the National Assembly this afternoon passed a 54.99 trillion naira 2025 appropriation bill. The bill was passed separately by the Senate and the House of Representatives. A breakdown of the budget showed 3.645 trillion naira for statutory transfers, 14.317 trillion naira for debt servicing, 13.64 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, and 23.963 trillion naira capital expenditure, with fiscal deficit put at 13.08 trillion naira. The deficit to gross domestic product (GDP) ratio was put at 1.52%. Last week, President Bola Tinubu increased the 2025 fiscal year budget from an initial 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira, seeking approval from the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Will the Senate now approve the aggregate expenditure of 54 trillion 990 billion 165 million 355,396 naira to form the aggregate expenditure in the 2025 budget of the Federation of Nigeria. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Number one, issue an appropriation of 54 trillion 990 billion 165 million 355,396 naira from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation for 2025. Carried.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives increased the 2025 budget of the federal government from 54.2 trillion naira to 54.99 trillion naira. Presenting the report of the House Committee on Appropriation and Consideration of the Budget, the chairman of the committee, Kabir Abubakar Bichi, said the Joint Committee of the Senate and the House agreed on the figure after a series of meetings. He stated that the increase was necessitated by the need of certain government agencies not captured in the previous estimate. He also urged the executive to present subsequent budgets to the National Assembly not later than 3 months before the next financial year to maintain the January to December budget cycle.
Agencies of government forwarded genuine requests to Mr. President for additional funding. After a thorough examination by the Joint Appropriation Committees, additional funds were provided to the agencies, which include Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU), Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Offense Commission (ICPC), National Judicial Council (NJC), National Drug Law Enforcement Agencies (NDLEA), Department of State Service (DSS), Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Armed Forces, among others. The budget size was increased by 700 billion to cater for the following: 270 billion differential between the detail of the budget and the bill. The provision of $200 million, which is equivalent to 300 billion for procurement of vaccine and drugs, and some agencies of government will provide funds to take care of their critical needs. The Joint Committee worked harmoniously with the leadership of the National Assembly and the executive arm of government in processing of the bill. This ensured a maximum collaboration of the two arms in the utilization of the additional revenue projection to improve the funding of some critical projects which could not be adequately funded in the budget process earlier submitted by Mr. President due to funding constraints. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, observations. The 2025 appropriation bill was presented late, comparison with the 2024 appropriation bill. It was observed that there was an upward review of the budget from 49.7 trillion to 54.9 trillion to cater for the difference between the details and the bill, the procurement of vaccines, and additional funding in some of agencies of government. Recommendations. The committee hereby recommends that the executive present the budget to the National Assembly not later than 3 months before the next financial year. This will help return the country to the January to December budget cycle.
Still in the Assembly, the Senate has urged the federal government to prioritize the rehabilitation of the nation's deteriorating road infrastructure, underscoring the urgent need for improved connectivity across all regions. Lawmakers also call for the extension of the renewed Hope Superhighway Road project to the Northeast to ensure the region's full integration into national economic activities. The call for inclusion followed a motion moved by Senator Mohammed Danjuma Goje, representing Gombe Central. Senator Goje in his motion lamented that out of the 4.2 trillion naira road project, only 19 billion naira for rehabilitation was allocated to the Northeast zone. Senator Adiola Olamilekon, however, explained that the 4.2 trillion naira was allocated for 2 major road projects, while 500 billion naira from the total sum was designated for road rehabilitation nationwide. However, there was a slight tension when Senator Goje challenged Olamilekon's breakdown, accusing him of distorting fact, sparking a brief back and forth between the senators.
However, it is imperative to note that in this laudable project, the Northeast has only 2 road projects, that is, Yola Fufore Green Road in Adamawa State, 11 billion, and Harelamido Road in Taraba State, 7 billion, totaling all about 19 billion out of the approved sum of 4.2 trillion, the whole zone. Also note that apart from these 2 road projects listed in the Northeast, there are other very important road networks which are in bad conditions.
I want to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who ordinarily was trying to provide for the coastal road project that is going on, which is to the tune of the 4.2 trillion. That is the 2 coastal roads, the Lagos, the Badagry-Sokoto, and the Lagos-Calabar coastal road. But out of which the President now approved that for all the existing roads, that the sum of 500 billion naira, that the sum of 500 billion naira be set aside out of the 4.2 to be given to all existing road projects that across the country. And that was what was allotted to all projects across that is going on, that is currently going on, that they should not be abandoned. Not that the 4.2 trillion was shared into the 6 geopolitical zone and one zone got just 19 billion.
To security matters, the Nigeria Customs Service have handed over a total of 1,599 assorted arms and 2,998 live cartridges to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, NCCSALW. Speaking during the ceremony in Lagos, the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeni, stated that some of the importers of the assault weapons have been convicted, while other cases are still undergoing court process. CG Adeni said 11 suspects connected to the arms trafficking network were also handed over for further investigation and possible prosecution. According to him, the service has reinforced its core mandate of protecting the nation's borders through targeted anti-smuggling operations and precise intelligence-driven interventions. On his part, the National Security Advisor NSA, Nohuri Badu, commended the collaborative efforts between customs and other arms-bearing agencies. Represented by the NCCSALW Director General Johnson Kokumo, the NSA reiterated the government's commitment to preventing the circulation of illicit arms. The Nigeria Police Force said 3,907 arms were unaccounted for from the police armory before the tenure of Kayode Egbetokun as the Inspector General Police (IGP). Force spokesman Olumiwa Adejobi disclosed this in a statement, noting that some of the arms were carted away by hoodlums during civil unrest. He said the force wishes to clarify that the report stemmed from an assessment of the report by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation dating back to 2019, likely reflecting records compiled prior to the current police chief's tenure. In the report, according to issue 3B subsection 3, it is stated that 3,907 arms were unaccounted for and not missing, as speculated by the news. He stated that it was important to acknowledge the challenges faced by the police during periods of civil unrest, during which several officers were killed and their arms carted away, as well as the looting of police facilities and armories. He, however, noted that every effort has been made to account for the arms that were taken, while many have been recovered back to the arms holding of the force at the moment. Still, with security, the Defense Headquarters has officially established Operation Safe Corridor in the Northwestern Zone, with its headquarters located in Safe, Zamfara State. The initiative aims to curb insecurity by providing a structured process for rehabilitating and reintegrating repentant terrorists who voluntarily surrender their arms. During the official handover of office facilities that will serve as the operational headquarters, Governor Dauda Lawal reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting security efforts in combating criminal activities. The operation is structured around 5 key components: disarmament, demobilization, de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration. Speaking at the event, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, stressed the significance of the initiative in curbing terrorism and banditry through rehabilitation. Similarly, Ambassador Mairo Abbas, representing the National Security Advisor NSA in Ohuribadu, urged state government to create a center for the families of those willing to surrender so they can be de-radicalized and rehabilitated. And turning to politics, the president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, has debunked reports associating him with the race for Nigeria's presidency in 2027. Adesina was reported to have given a hint that he will be contesting for the presidency in 2027 following a recent interview. However, the AFDB president has denied the media report, stating that he never said he wanted to contest for president. In a post clarifying his statement on his X handle, Adesina said his interview was misinterpreted and misrepresented in several Nigerian media reports. He disclosed that what he said was he will be available to serve in any capacity globally in Africa, anywhere, including in Nigeria. And in the court, the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has adjourned proceedings to March 3 for parties in the petition to adopt their final written addresses. The adjournment followed the decision of the All Progressives Congress APC to close its case without presenting additional witnesses in defense of Governor Monday Okpebelo's victory in the September 21, 2024 election. The tribunal is hearing a petition filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate Asue Godalo, challenging the Independent National Electoral Commission and its declaration of Okpebelo as the winner of the polls. On Wednesday, the APC had said they had 28 witnesses lined up to testify and defend Okpebelo's victory. However, the party only presented 4 witnesses. And away from politics, the Kano State High Court has fixed April 15 for the hearing of all pending preliminary objections in the case of alleged bribery and misappropriation involving the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, his wife, Hafsat Umar, and 6 others. the Kano State government instituted an 8-count charge against the defendants, accusing them of bribery, misappropriation and diversion of public funds amounting to billions of naira. The other defendants in the case include Abubakar Baguro, Umar Abdullahi Umar, Jibrila Muhammad, Lamash Properties Limited, Safari Textiles Limited, and Lasage General Enterprises Limited. When the case came up for the hearing of many applications this morning, the prosecution counsel and counsel for Mr. Ganduje, his wife, indicated readiness to proceed. However, some defense counsels requested time to regularize their legal process. After listening to their submission, the presiding judge, Justice Amina Adamu-Aliyu, granted all the applications for an extension of time and adjourned the matter until April 15. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has discharged and acquitted a former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, Ishaq Kawu Modibo, and Pinnacle Communications Limited. They were being prosecuted by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences, ICPC, of charges bordering on the 2.5 billion naira released to Pinnacle Communications under the federal government digital switchover project. Delivering judgment today, Justice Ogunbanjo held that the ICPC was not able to prove the allegations against the defendant. The judge further discharged the defendant on the grounds that the statement and evidence of the witnesses could not pin any allegation on the defendant. The trial of the former Director General of the NBC lasted for 6 years. Still in the court, Justice Chinyere Nwechionwu of the FCT High Court, Kuje, has shifted the ruling in the bail application of the former Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, Professor Usman Yusuf, who is facing corruption allegations, to February 27. Justice Nwechionwu ruled that the defendant be remanded in the Nigerian Correctional Service Facility in Kuje pending the ruling on his bail application. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, charged Yusuf with 5-count charges bordering on alleged embezzlement and conferment of undue advantage to himself by proving the purchase of a vehicle at a cost of 49.19 million naira against the budgeted sum of 30 million naira when he was NHI's boss in 2016. The EFCC also accused Yusuf of retaining a private interest in a corporate entity known without due process, awarding a contract in the sum of 10.1 million naira in favor of the said foundation for the purported training of 90% when the actual number of trainees was 45. The defendant pleaded not guilty to the charges. Moving on, people from Ogale community in LMA local government area of Rivers State are protesting oil spillage allegedly caused by Shell Nigeria. The protest, which was held at a Shell oil sale facility in the same area, the spill occurred about 2 weeks ago in Ogale. Shell Nigeria had on February 5 reported that an oil spill occurred in Ogale near Port Harcourt when a saver pit overflowed during flushing operations. The company said its spill response team contained the overflow and notified authorities, adding that arrangements were being made for a regulator-led visit to assess the cause and impact of the spill. The Niger Delta region has been plagued by decades of oil spills causing extensive environmental damage and affecting the livelihood and health of millions in local communities. You are watching news at 7 on Western Spring Television, and still to come. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu berates Canadian Embassy for denying Chief of Defense Staff others visa. We will bring you more on these when we return. Stay with us. Naira 2025 Appropriation Bill estimate. Customs hands over 1,599 seized arms to the National Security Advisor's Office. Edo Governorship Election Tribunal adjourns hearing to March 3 as APC close case. And on the foreign scene, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urges NATO to up defense spending for Europe's sake. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has expressed strong disapproval over visa denial to Nigerian top military officials, including the Chief of Defense Staff (CDS), General Christopher Musa. Malam Ribadu expressed his disapproval at the maiden annual lecture of the National Association of the Institute for Security Studies held at the Shehu Yaradua Center, Abuja, on Thursday. The NSA's comment came after the CDS disclosed that he and his team were invited to Canada for an event honoring war veterans, but half of the delegation, including himself, were denied visas. General Musa described the incident as disappointing but emphasized that it serves as a reminder for Nigeria to stand strong as a nation and not be taken for granted. On his part, Ribadu commended General Musa for speaking out about the incident, adding that despite the disappointment, Nigeria is peaceful and strong and must work hard to overcome challenges facing it. Ribadu further praised General Musa for providing purposeful leadership in the war against terrorism, banditry, and other security